fast, secure the bag. Don't even blink, make them walk the plank. Light them up, let's make them sing. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. On Bucs, yeah, we on. Fire the cannons, fire the cannons, fire the cannons. The whole field's our red zone. Give you 55 reasons why this is our season. Palm trees breezing, opposing teams bleeding.
All right, welcome back to Buc What You Heard. My name is Gene. You can reach me at Buc What You Heard. You follow me, I will follow you back. And here we are coming into week 3, almost ready for the regular season. And I'm joined by my esteemed guest here, my co-host, and my man, Michael Pless. KB, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man.
Hey,
Wednesday. It's a hump day. We're 1 week closer to the season. Was it 3 weeks now?
You know, the cool
3 weeks
thing
and 1
about
day.
the cool thing about it is on Wednesdays, we're a couple of days away from a football game during football season. So one good thing to look forward to with Buc What You Heard coming on is that, we're just that much closer to a football game. And my man, Michael Pless, how are you doing? I can't call you a special guest. You're at home, you're a friend of the show. So how's everything going?
It's going great, man. I'm happy that preseason is almost over and we finally get to figure out how this team's going to shape up, what those final spots are going to look like, what the roster is going to be, and finally get ready for the real stuff and prepare for Dallas Cowboys week 1 on Sunday Night Football. And yeah, a lot of good things ahead, but I'm just glad that preseason is going to be put to bed here shortly.
Yeah. I have a question for you guys. Can you even remember back last year in the preseason, in the offseason, what the hot topic was that everybody was complaining about? Because I don't. And again, when this season's over and we're going into next season, we won't remember what the hot topic was in the offseason here. So this is just kind of how you have to look at it. People jumping out the window about third string.
That's good perspective, Gene. That's very good perspective because, this is the season where hot takes, there's draft season and then, heck, I'm not going to call the particular person because I don't want to give him, content, but, his team was chosen by Madden in a simulation to win the Super Bowl. We all know they're not going to. They haven't won a Super Bowl in 30 plus years, but hey, they're going to talk about it on a show for 2 hours on Fox Sports.
Exactly. And these are the kind of things I'm talking about. There's just not enough content. Why isn't there more film breakdown? Well, we have one guy who handles a film breakdown and we don't need any more film breakdown, but you get that. Hey, plus I did want to say, I checked out your videos and incredible work, man, as usual. I didn't think you could get any better with this, but you guys continue to raise the bar.
I appreciate it. Yeah, we're just trying to stay logical out there, provide good takes and try to keep people calm, not go off the rails. Everyone thinks the offensive line is in shambles. I beg to differ. I think it's going to be just fine. Kyle Trask, again, that future, him as a future quarterback, I guess that's the big talk. But hey, that's 2023 problems. Let's focus on 2022 where we still have the greatest quarterback of all time, still have a team that is ready to contend and should be a lot of fun. Julio Jones is on this team for Christ's sakes. And
he won't even be starting.
Yeah. So,
and KB, I want to go to you as an offensive lineman, who played at a high level. What are your takes on the offensive line? To get people calmed down, and I know there are some concerns, but going into the season, looking at who your quarterback is, and if the play calls are right, what are your thoughts on the Bucs offensive line?
Well, there's 2 things. First, to address the Aaron Stinney thing.
Sorry.
To address the Aaron Stinney thing.
Yeah.
I know we want to make a big deal about preseason snaps or preseason games and who does what, when, where. But I think the biggest thing to look at is the actual snaps themselves. Aaron Stinney was playing more during the preseason games then the backup offensive lineman, which at the time was Luke Gadecki until he got the start in game 2, and then Nick Leverett. So that tells me Aaron Stinney was behind the 8 ball. His injury stinks from a depth standpoint. But that doesn't mean he would have been the second option, even if he wasn't even the starter. Nick Leverett has been talked about by this team for the past 3 years. I mean, he's come in as a UDFA and has just done a fabulous job each offseason and taken those strides to be better. With Brady, obviously, with Brady, Breeze, Manning, a lot of the big talk is because they're not mobile, you want to be stout up front. I think Luka Decky, minus a couple hand placements, I think he's done the job. And I think if he just does what he did last week, minus the penalties, I think he's going to win the job. And I think we'll be happy as a fan base.
Do
What I
you
am, yep.
do you think, with Luke Gadecki, do you think people's expectations were too high?
No, I mean, think about what Light
Because,
has.
I mean, when you look at how he came in and everybody's like, oh, this guy that we're expecting him to come in and do this, but you have to consider, he hasn't been in the NFL that long. I'm not making
He played at right tackle at Central Michigan, not like he's coming from the SEC here.
right.
And he's moving to left guard. I mean, you're changing everything about, you're playing the whole right brain, left brain thing. Like everything switches and you're going from playing kind of like a long game, a mental game, playing on the edge versus in the literally in the trenches. I mean, you have that until you have contact with the defender. And
Right.
what Luke Gadecki's done wrong is not even his technique, it's his hand placement. When, he's doing a drive block and a guy gets around him, he is holding on to dear life when he should just honestly let that guy go once, a reach block reaches a certain point and he can't hold on. That's one of his flags. The other flag was he literally just came out of his stance, got engaged with the tackle and then got beat inside by his swim move and then proceeded to turn with his hands on the defender. And that was Rashad White's 20-yard run. I mean, those are things that he was being too aggressive on.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he had the wrong technique, bad footwork. That's the things you look for from a young guy. He's got it. What I'm worried about is if anything happens to Donovan Smith and Tristan Wirfs, because Fred Johnson and Josh Wells, to me, I'm less concerned or more concerned about them than I am Luka Decky, Nick Leverett, or Aaron Stinney, which is crazy to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Les, your thoughts?
No, I'm right there with Ken. Ken nailed it. So it's Gadecki is just getting his hands a little bit too far outside because that's what he's used to. He was a tackle, so he's used to having his hands out
faster and stronger now.
Yeah,
he's got to get used to that.
Yeah, he's used to having his hands more wider set. Now he's just got to get his hands more inside of the chest plate. That way he can, use that aggression and use his drive. Everything in the run game I love with him. I think it's just, and pass protection as well. I think it's been fine. It's he's learning a new position. So once he understands, okay, this is what I need to do on certain play.
He's coachable.
He'll be fine. Again, I'm not worried about him, and I think he will be the starter. There's a higher upside with him being in there. And you roll with Robert Hainsey, who I have no concerns at all with. I think he's been rock solid. So Hainsey's going to do his job. He's going to be, a positive force in there, and they'll get it corrected with Gadecki. They'll be fine with him. So,
well, and then there's two things. One, everyone talks about is Brady getting the ball out. That's going to help all of the offensive linemen for better, for worse. I mean, I remember 2 years ago, Gene, when I first met you and Brady was, the quarterback of the Bucs. I told you Donovan Smith especially was going to be the one who went from that bottom tier tackle to, middle of the road. And that's kind of what he kind of is. It took Ali Marpet from a very good guard who was not really a Pro Bowl caliber player to the national media to all of a sudden a superstar, all pro caliber player. Right. Same thing with Ryan Jensen. That's what Brady does. So I'm not worried about the offensive line from that standpoint.
But more from a health standpoint.
Yeah, it's what happens when, I think we're one guard injury and we'd be okay. I think we're a center or a tackle injury away from being in a very bad position. That's my concern, and I just hope we just do the Ali Marpet, next year, just at tackle.
Mhm.
And plus, what are your thoughts? As a GM, putting on your GM hat, what do you think you would see from Jason Light? Is Jason Light on the phone with somebody? Is he potentially looking for that safety blanket or that potential somebody to come in and assist this line?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure they're looking. They had Spy Tech on today, talking about it. How
Love that guy.
yeah, he's going to be a GM here soon. And I hate that
It's gonna
we have,
suck.
yeah,
I
we have
liked
to
him. I
lose
liked
him.
him hidden. I liked him when he was hidden.
Yeah, I really thought he was going to get that Pittsburgh Steelers job, but it looks, they went a different direction. Anyways, they talked about, just being prepared and having guys, ready at the go, just in case injuries do, take place. Josh Wells, better right tackle than he is left tackle, but again, he's not it. And Fred Johnson isn't the guy either.
Well, and here's what I'm saying, plus, like, we just played
Mhm.
the Titans, right? And,
Right.
I'm kind of biased to this one certain player, but I remember he was a first round caliber player until he got his ass kicked by Michigan. I almost said Michigan State, Michigan in
Mhm.
general. Aiden Hutchinson and Adabo really came to play that particular day. Nicholas Petit Ferrier,
Yeah.
Berkeley Prep, great. But repping. But Nick Petit Ferrer was he dropped from literally the first to the third round for literally one bad game, and he's going to be the starting right tackle for the Titans. So
Mhm.
that's what I'm looking for next year. I want Light, Spy Tech, just to find that highly talented guy who, or maybe from a smaller school or whatnot, develop that next tackle. Because right now, again, Josh Wells, Fred Johnson. Fred Johnson is, I think Josh Wells can be serviceable for a game
Yeah.
or two,
Mhm.
but Fred Johnson, I don't want him in there for one snap.
I agree. And again, I think Wells will probably be that OT 3 for you. And
If it was up to me,
hopefully,
Fred Johnson shouldn't make the roster. If you ask me, I'd rather take whoever they find from cuts. Just take
right,
a flyer on
agreed.
someone.
I think they will. I think they'll find someone that will get released. And I'm still holding out for, Jason Peters. I would love to see that move. Just again, a veteran addition where he can
He
be
could
an
probably play
upgrade.
guard too if we
Yeah.
needed.
He can
Like,
be that guy that you can be OT or inside as well. So, but we'll see. Again, there'll be options, I'm sure, and I'm sure they'll pick someone up that could be a potential upgrade over a Fred Johnson and maybe give you a little bit more versatility alongside Nick Leverett, who's going to be that do everything inside type of guy that Aaron Stinney was going to be. And
Right.
unfortunately, he went down, and that's why it makes sense to have Giddicky as your starter, have Leverett as your top backup, rotation type of dude. So
also imagine if you lost Hainsey and Leverett in the same game. Let's say Leverett was the starter at left guard.
yeah,
You're screwed. That's why you generally have to have a backup center, like, kind of ready to go.
right,
So
exactly.
with the way things are, and we don't know what the situation with Jensen, um, how do the Bucks look at center right now? I mean,
Oh, I
what
think they're
what
fine.
does that look like?
I think Leverett's a capable backup quality. I think he's better at guard, but I
Hmm.
think he could be just a capable, again, just get you through a game or two when needed. And I think Hainsey's gonna look good. I think he's gonna get tested a little bit when we play some really good D tackles to start the year after the Cowboys. So he's gonna get tested because he's going against lower competition now. But what I would say is he's beating the people he's supposed to beat, which is
Right.
all you can really ask given his situation. And he's been the pleasant surprise because I thought he'd be the one to worry about.
Yeah. I think his first test comes week 2, to be honest.
Hmm.
Week
Yeah,
2.
I mean, there's gonna be tests. I mean, Dallas is gonna test them with some blitzing, and that's really where the tests are gonna come. Is like when teams bring extra guys, the blitz concepts are gonna be ramped up because they haven't seen anything yet.
Mhm.
No one's gonna challenge them with concepts in preseason. So, but my level of concern is like at a 0. Like I'm confident in Hainsey doing
Okay.
the job. Like he'll be ready to go. From a mental aspect, I'm not worried about him. And same thing with Gedeke. These guys study the tape, and I think a lot of people forget we have Shaq Mason. like that guy's the
Never
star.
want to hear we
He's
lost
saying-
Marpet and Kappa. No, we lost Marpet because he's an
Retirement.
upgrade over Kappa.
Yeah. And again, here's a name we haven't really talked a lot about in the offseason because
We haven't seen him play.
Yeah, we haven't
Well,
seen him
remember,
play.
the Bills just traded a 5th-round pick for Cody Ford. I'll take our 5th-round pick trade any day of the week.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
all day.
Highway robbery, Jason Light.
Yeah. And
So-
people forget back in that draft, that was the guy that, the Bucs were sort of high on. They were looking at getting, but again, they were going to play him, I believe, at tackle instead of guard.
Yeah.
And the Bills traded up, and I forget who did we end up getting. I think that was the, I want to say, I forget.
That was
who
the
we-
Alex Kappa year.
Yeah, but there was a guy we drafted
We-
after that, but I forget who it is. I have to look it up. But again, interesting to see how all that plays out.
Yeah, so I do want to kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about preseason.
Mhm.
And I want to get your thoughts on who made a case to stay on this team. And KB, I'm going to start with you. And just I don't know if you've gotten to watch any. I've gone back and watched the game a few times. Is there anybody that just like stood out to you that really did themselves a favor? Because this game was more of a defensive game and on both sides of the ball. And it just was totally different. It was a polar opposite of the Miami game in a lot of ways.
Well, 2 players. One, I think, made an instant impact that I think is going to win him a roster spot. And I named him last week, and I know I'm going to fuck it up again. Ala Kunle Fadukasi.
That was good.
This man came and played and got a sack and a half, I believe, and led the team in tackles. But most importantly, he played sound football, and
he's been
already
consistent.
showing special teams. He's not like splashing on special teams, but he's done well.
Yeah. And that's what you're looking for. Somebody that's consistently making plays, consistently doing their job. Those kind of things are what coaches are looking for, more so than a splash play here. And then you don't hear anything from them for a little while and you may get a penalty or something, but just consistent play is what they're looking for because these are all basic plays that they're calling.
And then I think the second one would be Devin Tompkins. I think he put himself above all of the Kalen Geiger, the Jarrett Stearns, although I think all of those guys are so good. I think he put himself number 1 on that list to, with Scotty, who are they going to take the unknown guy versus like a Kalen Geiger or Devin Tompkins, for number 7. But one thing I know we've talked about the positive things. 2 names I haven't heard at all this entire preseason: Brashad Perryman and Cyril Grayson. Perryman's been hurt, but we haven't seen Cyril Grayson at all.
But that's kind of par for the course with Perryman. That's pretty much been his career since he was drafted with the Ravens.
But Grayson, people were putting as wide receiver 5 or 6 before the Julio Jones move.
They
thought he was making this roster for sure.
Got lost in the shuffle, but yeah, I see them being released and then back, being brought as a veteran addition to the practice squad. That'll be their roles. But I'm right there with Ken. I think those 2 names are definitely ones to watch for making the roster. That 5, 6, 7. That's
what about for you? Was there anybody that just like, wow, they just really,
I would agree. I would agree with Ken. I think, Fadikasi at linebacker is definitely one. They did bring in a linebacker today in Avery, Jannard Avery, who, again, special teams guy. I think they'll keep 5 linebackers at inside. So you'll have Grant Stewart make the team just because of special teams.
Right.
And then Fadikasi as well. And then the 4 outside linebackers, I think will stay status quo. His receiver really is like the biggest one. I think Tyler Johnson is going to be on this team for sure. I think he solidified his spot at the 5th. And then the 6th and 7th will probably be down to either Darden, Tompkins, Scotty Miller. It's going to be a combination of those and like who they want at returner.
and
it remains to be seen.
Yeah, I'm always the eternal optimist here, and I'm always looking to see who's going to be that guy on special teams that stands out and really does some things. And
It's not
unfortunately,
Tyler Johnson. He was
Oh,
bad as a gunner. He was bad.
yeah, I just
I've
said he's
heard
a,
he could be hurt, but he's bad.
yeah, I just said he's a lock to make it as far as receiver.
Oh, as a
production.
receiver, yeah, he's the backup
yeah,
slot guy.
yeah.
And I think he secured it too. And I think he's came in, he showed what he needed to at receiver to be
Mhm.
I think he's wide receiver 5.
Yeah.
Right now. I think he's behind Julio, but yeah, special teams ain't him though.
Mhm.
So, as far as kick returner, what are your thoughts? I mean, as far as kick returner, is it Darden? Is this Darden's
I
job?
think it's Darden and White. I mean, I don't like White back there
I don't
because I
like him
really
back there
want
either.
No, I want him to be able to get snaps, at running back or,
Right.
split out. Like I want him to focus on that versus, taking a cheap hit, maybe being a blocker for Darden as a returner.
Yeah.
I think I said in the first preseason game White looked bad. I think he's looked okay his past couple returns. Um, I don't think Darden's anything special, but I don't think the Geigers, the Tompkins, the Stearns have really done anything there.
Yeah, I think that'll all sort itself out come this weekend. We'll see who gets those defined roles, but it'll be tough. Again, it all depends on what they want. Do they keep 6 or 7 receivers? I have a feeling they're leaning towards 7, but
They almost have to. And again, I keep going back to the Rams game, and I look at the team and what a drop off from your starting 2 to everybody else that was on that team during that game. And the Bucs don't want to put, and Jason Light is known for this. He doesn't want to put himself in that position again to where he just doesn't have that help. And we started out the season and you get to see all these wide receivers flashing. And again, I have to look towards playoff time, week 12 and on, just to see what our wide receiver room is going to look like at that time. I mean, we've got a luxury right now, and anything can happen. So just kind of keeping that in mind, it's going to be a tough season. 17 games, really grinding. You may see some of the starters out for a little bit on against the Colts, but for the most part, we'll just kind of have to wait till week 1 to really see what you have.
Before we close out the lead up to the week 3 preseason game, one name that I forgot that really stood out and I think earned a roster spot. I know we've kind of talked about him a bunch on this podcast, but Kieft showing he can be a fullback too.
Yeah.
I think that's super versatile to be, because I mean, I don't know where they're going to get too many snaps from Cam Braid and Kyle Rudolph, but I think Otten's for sure on the roster given his draft status, and I think he's done enough. But Kieft being a 6th-round pick, you proved your value.
Absolutely. I mean, I totally forgot about Tanner Hudson watching.
He just got released, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I mean, Tanner Hudson was he's always been that preseason guy for me. Doesn't do much in the regular season, but he's always the guy that I always watched, and just watching Kieft and everything that this man can do. I mean, he's so versatile, whether it's blocking or he's got nice hands, got soft hands. And he, as you mentioned, fullback. I mean, this guy, whatever they're asking him to do, he's going out there and doing it. And that's what you need to have a successful team.
Well, and the Bucs have already tipped their hand. They're going to run a lot more this year compared to previous years. And I think if they lose a game or 2 because of it, I really don't think they care. So a guy like Kieft is going to be super valuable. And I think, honestly, maybe at the start, Kieft might get more snaps than K. Dotton to start. And I don't think that's a bad thing for the team really at all. And I don't think it's bad for K. Dotton either.
Yeah, I already had those 2 guys making it.
A lot of people, I just think a lot of people slept on Kieft until they saw some clips on YouTube or Twitter, and it's like, oh, okay, that guy's good.
Yeah, I mean they're keeping 4 tight ends. I could see it where there's a definite scenario where they cut Gio Bernard and they bring him back, as just a roster, a punctual,
so they can put Jensen on IR or whatever.
Right. So,
yeah. So do you think that's gonna? What is his status? Gio Bernard's status right now?
I think he's fine. Again, he's got a ankle injury right now that he's nursing, but he'll be ready for the season. And again, he could be one of those guys where he's a veteran practice squad player and they have him as a call up. Again, it's just that's the benefit you have. And Spytech talked about that, where you can have 6 veterans on the practice squad and bring them up every week, and without having to cut a guy or have them signed to the roster. So that's definitely a benefit you're going to see them take advantage of. And then the same thing with the receivers we mentioned, Perriman and Grayson being that option of being called up to the roster. So
guys, you've got one good week and a lot of players are executing and doing their jobs and showing what they can do. Then the next week and not so much. How do you, because you really can't, you're not getting a whole lot out of this other than seeing, doing more talent evaluation than anything. What do players have to do? What do certain players have to do that they haven't really done come game 3 when they're getting that opportunity?
Yeah, it's just making the plays. It's making the plays when they're there. Geiger's got to make that touchdown catch. Or,
Scotty Miller's got to make that catch.
Yeah, Scotty's got to make catches when they come to him. I did like the catch he had over the middle. That was nice, but
you don't see that often from him either.
Right. And it's just being consistent. Guys have to, when they have their opportunity, they have to make those plays.
Carl Nassib almost had a safety even too, and I think Carl Nassib didn't play well. I'm just going to be honest, but given that he didn't really play he wasn't in anyone's camp and came in and basically played the game after 2 practices, I think he played well considering the situation he was in, and I'm really glad he's edge 4. I'm really glad. That was a great move by this organization.
Right. Hey, real quick, I'm gonna see if I can get Joshua Cole Allen on here. Try to get some takes from this week in camp and kind of get his perspective on what he's seeing coming in here. I just missed his call somehow. Let's see if it'll.
Yeah, JC's been killing it at Pew Report, doing a great job. With the coverage.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
He's grinding, and he's verified on Twitter.
He's verified. Does he have the check mark?
Oh, he's got the check mark.
Oh yeah. So.
Oh, okay, hold on. Let's see. Hey, JC, are you there?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Hey, not too much, man. How you doing?
Just another Wednesday, getting ready for training camp to end tomorrow, and the season starts to hit us before you know it.
All right, and folks, if you don't recognize the name, this is Joshua Cole Allen of my man at Pewter Report, doing his thing. Great content. If you get a chance, be sure to check him out. You guys have a podcast too, right?
Absolutely, we do it usually a couple days a week, 4 days a week, 4 o'clock is usually our airtime. We had one today, so definitely check that out after you're done tuning in to Buc What Ya Heard.
I appreciate you, man. So what are your takeaways so far this week from camp?
Well, Brady's back, and there doesn't look like there's any drop-off, so that's the biggest thing. So rest assured, Brady is back. I know everyone was I put out today that he had a Veteran Day, and everyone was freaking out. He just had 11 days off. But he was still in the building. He was just not practicing. He wasn't out at practice either. But I think today, him getting that day off was not as much as like a rest day, rest time. Well, it could be as well. But I think more because Trask is going to be playing a lot, and especially probably that entire second half, if not more than that. Getting them indoors, getting him reps indoors on the turf, making sure he's comfortable there because, Indy plays inside on turf. So it's also the reason why they've been inside the last 2 days. They're going to play inside. You probably should practice inside. So I don't think it's a big deal. I know some people were a little concerned about him having a day off already after just taking those 11 full days off. But that and the biggest takeaway for me is Godwin his progression is just flying right by. He's out there with an orange non-contact jersey, but there were some contact plays that he made. He simulated a blocking rep where, he was on the outside and had to wall off an offender, and didn't look like there was any hesitation. Obviously, they're not live tackles and going full speed in that situation, but he also had a screen pass that he had to run through. He ran through a bit of traffic in. There was a little bit of contact, so he wasn't nervous about that. Today he was working with Kyle Trask a lot, caught a deep touchdown, burnt Kyle McMichael for a touchdown, deep down the field, got a nice one-handed grab in the flat that he turned up the field for a touchdown, had another touchdown in the back of the end zone on a crosser route. So Godwin looks like he could be back week 1. Really, it's just going to be getting him more acclimated to, can he take the hit? Can he take a shot? He's got that big bulky knee brace on. I don't know if that's something he's going to want to play with or what the situation is there. But if he doesn't go week 1, I don't expect him to not go week 2. I just think he's that close to being ready. And so far, everything I've seen, there's no limitation. There's no hesitation on using that leg to cut or to make any sort of moves, or the speed is back. It's just going to be a contact situation where, that first hit, how does that go? And I think that's the biggest thing to kind of wait for.
Man, that's exciting right there. And, just kind of a follow-up question for you. We had heard, going back to the beginning of the offseason, that we might not see Chris Godwin into going into October, from some reports that I had seen. And are you shocked at
Good
where
old Booger McFarland.
Booger McFarland, who said the Saints were going to win the division. Sorry, I digress.
But all joking aside, are you surprised at where he's at, with this comeback from such a catastrophic injury?
Absolutely, 100%. And we kind of got some inside information when we had Cyril Grayson on the podcast back in early July before training camp started. I think Godwin's going to be ready for week 1. I've seen him run 19 miles an hour. He looks good, and we're like, oh, really? I thought that he would for sure have a stint on the PUP to begin camp. If
that's
not
what I was
taken
thinking.
off at some point. PUP. The thing about PUP is if he remained on the PUP list, going after final cutdowns, he missed the first 6 games. So when he wasn't placed on there and before he came out, I was like, well, maybe they're going to put him on injured reserve. Now, injured reserve rules are a bit different this year. You have to go through final cutdowns to be placed on injured reserve for the opportunity to come back, but you can come back after 4 weeks. So I was like, okay, maybe that's the route. Maybe they don't think he's going to be out 6 weeks, but maybe he still misses that first month. But now it's like he could be ready to go week 1. So I was definitely shocked. I mean, it just puts it to the testament of how hard he worked to get back from this injury. The Bucs rewarded him with a big contract that quickly got foreshadowed by other big contracts, but a big contract, $20 million per year nonetheless. And, he could have just kind of slacked off and said, I'll be ready when I'm ready and I'll get back out there. But, this is a guy who's got drive, competitive spirit, and if he wants to be back on the field week 1, and if anything, the Bucs are probably telling him, hey, slow down a bit, like they're pulling the reins back, if anything. And I think Chris Godwin's probably itching to get back out there, just like we heard from Levante David the other day. He's like, I want to play in the preseason game. I want to hit. I think that's the type of guy Chris Godwin is. So the fact that he's almost ready to go now is definitely shocking. But at the same time, I mean, do you doubt this guy at all? I don't think you can. He's just that type of player.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, on another note, I was just asking the guys, who they believe has earned themselves a roster spot over these 2 preseason games, and wanted to kind of get your thoughts on who you've seen, whether it's through practice or at the game, who you've seen that really stood out to you.
Yeah, I think Tyler Johnson solidified that 5th spot for sure. I don't think there's any question about it. I think you're coming down to 6. Do they keep 7, potentially 7? That 7th wide receiver spot. Fadokazi's quickly, I think, earning him a spot on the roster if he has another game like that, between special teams and also between his play at linebacker. Frank Stewart, for the special teams maven that he is, led the team in special teams tackles, was 3rd in the NFL in special teams tackles. Very limited as a linebacker in that backup role. If you're down to Grant Stewart having to start a game, you're in some deep trouble. Fadokazi's looked faster than both him and KJ Britt. He's been doing really well. So I think that he might have played himself on a roll. I think Keith as well. I think I wasn't sure if it was Michael or Barrett Ken over there that were talking about
both of them. It was both of them.
Yeah.
I'm a believer too, so there's that.
I just think when you break it down, and Michael's heard me say this probably a million times on my Twitter spaces, but when you break it down and you're looking at these final guys who are going to be able to contribute on special teams, to me, Keith is the only one that can have a niche role on game days as well. You're not going to your fifth safety, your fifth linebacker, your sixth cornerback. Those guys aren't going to see the field whatsoever. And if you do, there's a big problem. So Keith as a fourth tight end, you can use him in a variety of different ways. We've already seen him line up as fullback. If you're going goal line situations, if you do, jumbo tight end sets where you could say goodbye to Josh Wells as the third tight end out of the field, and then now you put in a guy like Keith. It opens up the playbook in certain run packages too, because you look at last year, Gronk was really your only blocker. You weren't going to count on O.J. Howard. You weren't going to count on Cam Brate to be blockers on the field. So now it gives you the opportunity to use him in a blocking role. Kate Otten as well, Kyle Rudolph. So I think he's probably played himself onto the roster, and he's done a great job. And I think Brandon Walton too. Sure he's had some struggles, but the versatility he has as a guard and the tackle, took some starting left guard snaps. He's played right guard, played left tackle, he's played right tackle. So that type of versatility, especially on the offensive line, especially where they are now with injuries fitting in, I think that's something that speaks volumes. And, SR was saying today that they like Walton perhaps ahead of Finney at this point, just because of that versatility and depth. So, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, you can only keep 53 guys. There'll have to be a move, probably a wink-nod move with one of the veterans out there to get Ryan Jensen on IR and then bring the guy back to the roster. So those are some of the guys that have stood out to me. Other guys as well, obviously Devin Tompkins. I like what I've seen from Don Gardner, not just in the games, but when he came back to practice off the PUP list, had an interception, was getting his hands on balls. It's just such a numbers game. I think this roster, and John Spivak talked about it today, it's just so deep that there's so many different guys that are going to be in the NFL if they don't make it with the Bucs back on the practice squad that have really impressed me so far. And it just comes down to NFL still needs to just increase the roster limit to like 60 players or something like that, 57 players.
I think, I felt that as soon as they changed it to 17 games, I felt they should have increased the roster just for injuries because the game is so violent. You can't stick with that smaller, that 53-man roster, and you have an extra game. So I don't know. The NFL, they confuse.
Don't they have like a 48 game roster now? So that helps a little bit where you can add more guys.
If you have an extra lineman active, you can activate an extra player. So I think if you have 7 linemen active, or it's either 7 or 8 linemen active on game day, it gives you one more ability to have one more guy rostered on game day. So it does give you that ability. But still, even still, having 53 guys on a roster and not being able to dress all of them, to me, never made sense. Why can't you dress all your guys?
Right.
But I guess it's an injury standpoint. If this team's injured X, Y, and Z, but then what if you're injured more than 48 guys? You have 6 guys.
I have an answer if you all are interested.
Go ahead.
So the reason why they have that rule is because for the active 45, or in this case, it could be 46, 47, 48. But the whole idea around that is whether you have 7 or 8 injuries or not, the whole goal is each team should have a set amount of active, healthy players for the game. Because if you, let's say, expand the rosters, you'd still have, all these players either inactive and they don't want to inflate salaries, but for the specific reason of making it an even playing field is why they just hey, you probably have between 4 to 6 injuries. So, you can just rest like a healthy player or whatnot. So it's just like, here you go. Let's slap a number on that. 40,
competitive
45
balance.
just sounds it.
Yeah.
Competitive
It's a
balance.
weird one,
And I
though.
get that. It doesn't make sense.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. Tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys can follow me at JC Allen NFL on Twitter. Mostly active there. I do have an Instagram, same name, JC Allen NFL, but mostly training camp videos and I add some pictures here and there. But yeah, Twitter. I do live Twitter Spaces all the time.
Yeah, be sure to check those out. They're a lot of fun. I think I've
my
jumped
DMs
on one.
are always open. If there are any questions or anything?
I've jumped on
on there. Yep. All right, we've
Yeah.
had some good talks in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
It stays pretty much. It's not toxic, which is nice. I don't allow that shit.
Outside of Captain Brady.
No comment.
Brady runs the whole team.
Yeah, so that's the one thing I did appreciate about it. I mean, people coming with logical questions and no trash talk, and those are the kind of spaces I like joining. Just to kind of get other people's thoughts on on the team in a again in a positive manner. So definitely, if you get a chance, again, Joshua Cole Allen, our guy, friend of the show. He's again, we may definitely be talking to him again next week, especially going up after the Colts game and getting ready for week 1. So Josh, if we can get you on here again, we'd love to have you again. But thank you so much for jumping on with us.
As always, I'm always available to jump on any of y'all shows, and appreciate you having me on, and keep following these guys because they're doing amazing work. And I'll talk to you next week.
All right, my friend. Talk to you later.
All right.
Again, that was Joshua Cole Allen from Pewter Report. Does great work. Really enjoy talking with him. He's got the pulse of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he's really zoned in. Guys, we do have the Indianapolis Colts coming up. This is a really good test. Do you think we'll see a little bit more of the starters this week?
I hope so. Hope
Plus.
so. Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I hope the Colts play some starters too. It'd be nice to see some competition on both sides.
Yeah.
And just get some reps. Maybe Brady plays a series or two, maybe a quarter. I don't know how that's gonna play. I know last year they had Brady. I think he played a whole half last year against the Texans, and again we had that one drive where it was like flawless. It was like a 2-minute drive where they just went right down the field. Hopefully we can see some of that again. That'd be nice. See some good execution, see the offense come out and just get a good vibe. You want to see your, obviously maybe some Shaq Mason and get the offensive line out there. Donovan Smith, obviously Tristan probably won't play. He has the strain oblique, but just want to see some guys, maybe Devin White, Levante, get out there, do some different things. Not sure if they'll play like Akeem Hicks or Vita Vea or any of that nature, but it'd just be good to see some of them out there.
Yeah, that really would, just to kind of see what, kind of get that cohesion going.
Yeah, it's not necessary, but
yeah. Again, and he was talking about Tom Brady earlier, and we really haven't touched on it too much because it wasn't news to begin with. And to me, it's just the guy's a consummate professional. You've been in the league this long. You really, theoretically, you don't need to come in here because you have your core players, O-line, your main running back. You really, it's shouldn't take much to get back in the swing of things. And if he was gone right up until the game before, I was perfectly comfortable with that because it is Tom Brady. It was Jameis Winston or Josh Freeman or somebody like that, then you have that concern. But with Tom Brady, he is a professional, and I'm sure that there won't be a drop off as JCA talked about. There wasn't much of a drop off in practice, so that's it was just again good signs that kind of back up what we were all thinking. Oh, I'm sorry, KB. I thought you were gonna say something.
No,
Put you on the
I got
spot.
nothing to add. You guys are all good.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I'm looking forward. I honestly don't think Brady's going to play. I want him to. I don't think he will. But I think you'll see maybe Donovan Smith get a series. You might see Mike Evans get a series if he's healthy. But like again, I don't think Chris Godwin's going to play. But I think for the most part, you'll see people. I think both of the tight ends like Braid and Rudolph will get some play. Maybe I don't want to see really Shaq Barrett. Maybe JTS hopefully just plays like a series or two maybe and then is off. I think he's shown me enough already. I don't think Devin White or David should play, but I think you'll see some maybe starting sprinkled in for like, a couple series, but I think the Bucs starters will be out by the first quarter. But I really think the Colts will have starters out there. Maybe not DeForest Buckner, but Matt Ryan's probably going to play a quarter.
Oh, absolutely. I could see that. I've really liked what I've seen from Matt Ryan, watching him in preseason. I know it's only preseason. I realize that. But when you have a good offensive line like the Colts have, and he does have some viable weapons to throw to, I mean, I think he's found
Antoine
a really
Whipple
good
Jr.'s son.
Yeah.
Sorry, I love you, Mike Pittman Jr.
Yeah. That was such a great play.
No, but seriously, like that particular offense, all they really need is a Matt Ryan or Nick Foles. Like they don't like Carson Wentz.
That should be good.
When he was playing okay, like think about the Bucs game, they lost that game because of Wentz and really that pick by Antoine Winfield Jr. But like that, all they need is a steady Eddie guy. They have a really good solid. Like to me, they're baby Bills. Or like the Bills. If you look at the roster, it's like there's not one weakness. You look at this Colts roster, there's not one weakness.
Yeah. It's a good, deep, talented roster. Again, they can rely on Jonathan Taylor, and then they have Nyheim Hines, and they can just run the football.
They even have Philip Lindsay now too.
Yeah. They have a lot of.
They're gonna run, baby.
And what's interesting, this was the team that everybody was talking about last year that was going to be that team. But the only drawback was they didn't have the quarterback to really make it all happen.
If the Colts were in the NFC, let's say the NFC East, but I don't think they'd beat the Bucs in terms of a division. But I think they win. Other than maybe the South and the West, I think they could give the Packers a little run for their money because the Packers' biggest problem is their division is just so bad. I mean, other than the Vikings, I mean, the Bears are probably looking at a top 5 pick next year. And then the Lions could be a fun team to follow this year, but no one on this podcast is going to predict the Lions to make the playoffs or win their division.
I'm excited to watch them.
Exactly. Like they're going to be that fun team to root for. I mean, we all love the Hard Knocks, segment that's going on right now. But the Colts are a good team. If they weren't in the AFC, the stacked AFC, where there's literally 9 or 10 teams that can realistically make the playoffs, like.
And they're a balanced team. It's not just like one side of the ball over the other. They're
well coached.
Yeah, they're very well coached. So, again, that's going to be a fun game. That's probably the game I had circled that if I could watch any game that I was really looking forward to, is this one, just to see, how this team looks. I'd love this. I will definitely be following them. There's always that one AFC team that I follow throughout the year, just religiously. It had been Cleveland, but I've kind of stopped following them, just watching what they do. And I think it'll probably be the Colts this year. I'm just curious to see what they do with the level of talent they have. The Chargers is another team, but I'm going
to be watching every AFC West.
AFC West, every game needs to be prime time, and if it's not, I'm going to like, why?
So who?
That conference or that division is just stacked.
It's like the NFC West used to be like that. Remember when it was, they were all pretty stacked. Except for
that one year.
Yeah,
that one year I remember it was pretty bad or pretty good. I mean,
just beating each other up.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of what you're going to see this year. It's going to be interesting. I just don't think Kansas City. I don't know. Kansas City is going to be interesting, but I'm looking at the Chargers and possibly even the Raiders, doing some things.
The Raiders,
I'm calling it right now. I think the Chiefs and the Packers are combined for 24 wins.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I could see it. Definitely see it.
I think they're going to be that perfect 2 seed. It's who's gonna like. Will the Bucs or Rams beat the Packers? Like, if the Bucs beat the Packers in the regular season, I think, and obviously they play the Rams too. That's great for tiebreak. I just don't know if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, how that Packers team. Look at their schedule. It's so easy, man.
Yeah.
The Bucs have it pretty freaking tough, and even the Rams have it pretty freaking tough. But the
Do you
Packers
guys
are
think
just
they're
cruising.
overrated though?
I think they are
Who?
overrated, but it's just
Packers.
their schedule's so bad.
No, the Packers are a good team. Again, they're well coached and they have the pieces in place. Defensively, they're still very strong. And
They
they're gonna run.
lost depth though. Like on
They
their D
did,
line,
but
for instance.
they're still gonna run the football. They're still gonna do good
AJ
things
Dillon
there.
in December, baby.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones is still very good. So
I guess who is the threat? Who's the threat in their division right now, or is there a threat?
It's the Vikings, but I think the Vikings are going to be more
Minnesota,
fun
yeah.
to watch. But I don't think they're in that class yet.
No,
It's still
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins.
they're still missing some pieces over there.
I do think I know we don't talk much fantasy on this show, but I mean, I think Justin Jefferson has the chance to be
he's a
this
stud.
year's Cooper Kupp. I mean, in the sense that we already knew he was good, and I think Justin Jefferson's already being like drafted like a top 3 or 4 receiver anyway. But like him in this new offense is going to be fun. He's going to play in the slot. He's going to be used like Cooper Kupp.
That's my
Like
first pick if I can do it.
that's what I mean. If I have maybe number 3 pick, like if it's top 3, I probably have to go running back. But if it's 4, I think he has to be it.
I take him over McCaffrey easily.
So you guys think we should do like a pick'em league this year?
Hey, I'm down.
Pick him. Oh, what is that like?
Just pick winners, losers.
Pickers
You can
win.
do spread even
teams.
too.
Oh, teams. Okay. Yeah, sure. I'm about it.
Yeah,
I probably won't do well because I go with
I
go with the wrong
always-
choice.
It's
every
easier if you don't do the spread.
time. Yeah.
That's
If
my
you do the
problem.
spread is when it gets fucked.
But that's my problem. I always go out and pick the ones that I think are sure things, and then they lose, and then I'm like making all these wild, outrageous picks that nobody else is picking, and just dig myself deeper into the
Gene
hole.
picking the Jaguars
Yeah.
and things like that.
Oh
That
yeah,
just
I've
happens.
done that. It's,
Yeah.
it's like I'm the only one not picking the Jaguars.
Yeah.
the only
I'll overthink myself and picking the Bears to beat the Packers, and that's just not going to happen. It's like
We do everything but
Yeah.
pick a winner for the Bucs game is what we did
Yeah,
last year.
exactly.
Or
And
really the last 2 years.
that will remain. That will remain in place. It was just ugly. So
Every time we picked plus, we lost. Just anytime we picked.
yeah.
Unless it was like the Falcons or something. But when we picked against the Rams, lost. When we picked the Chiefs, lost. Ever since that point, that whole like stretch, we just quit picking.
yeah.
Smart.
So if you guys are down, I think I'll set it up. I'll try to set it up tonight and see if I can get some people on Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter and you're interested in doing pick 'em, let me know.
Oh, that's
No,
right. I did the CBS thing with Gene. I think it was I want to say 2 years ago, and I did it last year a little bit, but I remember I was in the lead. I was winning that whole thing.
Yes!
And I forgot to pick
Oh.
the last week.
And you
And it
lost.
ruined
no.
everything. Yeah,
Yep.
it ruined
The
everything.
house of cards fell down.
But I was gonna win that league, and I forgot to submit like 1 week, and I was done.
Yeah, that's all it
Yeah.
takes. But if you got me in there, you know there's always a chance that you can win. You're always a potential winner over me because I don't know what it is about me and pick 'em. I just don't do well.
Yeah.
But anyway.
It was fun.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll definitely set that up, and who knows? I may see if I can get like a free T-shirt or something like that to give away at the end of the season, and kind of make it fun. So we can kind of do that.
Yeah.
So, guys, one last question. We're getting closer to the regular season. Have you guys been following the Dallas Cowboys and where they are? And being that that's the first game, that's the only reason I care because it is the first game of the season, and I will be eating wings again for prior to that game, KB. So I'll definitely be eating wings, and I have my Dallas Cowboys.
Better have that shirt ready to go.
I will have the shirt ready.
I got 2 things to tell you about the Cowboys, Gene.
Yes, sir.
If JTS and Shaq Barrett don't beat Terrence Steele at right tackle, we're going to lose that game. And we better run the ball at Neville Gallimore and Odigizua. they're weak at their D line. I think I mean, the fact that they're even going to play Parsons off the ball is still just mind blowing to me.
Mhm.
Obviously, he's going to rush, like, kind of like how we do Devin White, or he might,
Yeah.
stand up on the line. But man, just don't throw the ball at Trayvon Diggs. I don't think he's that good, but he can catch.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's just what they are, man. Just don't throw at Trayvon Diggs and run the ball down their throat. And I just don't know how we don't win. Maybe CD3 better just be on CD Lamb. That'll be a fun matchup, but Michael Gallup probably won't play.
Yeah, Gallup's out, right?
That's what I mean. Jalen Tolbert's fine. Dak, I think last year, I was on this podcast saying we were going to blow them out because I didn't think Dak was going to be ready. I think this will be a fun game. I think last year will just be closer than what this one is, just because they don't have the firepower, and I think the Bucs can run the ball well. I don't think the Bucs run the ball well in general, but I think they can run the ball well against this team because they run duo up the middle, and that's where they're weak.
Yeah, I think those are good points. Again, I haven't really deep dived into Dallas yet, but I will obviously once this next game gets completed and we can turn our focus to that. But yeah, I would say, those weaknesses are correct. We definitely should be able to get after Dak Prescott with our pressures and, with our big boys up front. We should be able to push the pocket and, collapse it a little bit. And then offensively, I think we should be able to attack their secondary. I believe, mix in the run game.
Yeah.
Definitely attack, I would say, the edges as well. Attack DeMarcus Lawrence and attack who else is
they
there?
have Dante Fowler Jr., Dorrance Armstrong, and then I would guess they just signed Anthony Barr too, so I'm guessing that'll free Parsons to do some more on the edge.
Yeah, I would definitely attack their edges in the run game, but yeah, definitely a heavy dose of Fournette and Rashad White, and use the screen game and stuff like that. Play action.
Exactly. I don't think this is not the game you go when you play the Chiefs. Just go shotgun and just try to outscore them. This game, I don't think you need to do that. The Bucs just can't get down early.
They can. I would play 11 personnel, and you can definitely run it and do different. Yeah, both 12 personnel. Run it up the middle, run it outside. Attack their linebackers to make them play coverage.
Lane Vander Esch is not good.
I think the one thing that, and we can all agree on this, is the Bucs will have to get home rushing for. This is going to be a good opportunity for them to get started out on the right foot.
That can run too. We know the Bucs struggle with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that those are the things that I know that they had to work on last year, and hopefully it's something that has changed, with coaching, because again, it's just it's not physical ability. It's just, being disciplined to handle these running quarterbacks.
I'm excited to see our defense. I think our defense, that the story of our defense has been criminally underestimated.
I would say ignored.
Ignored. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get to.
If we had an easier schedule, the Bucs would be a team that I'd look at even as a fantasy defense, because I think week to week they're not going to allow over 20.
Yeah,
but you're going to play the Packers and the Chiefs and the Ravens. That's where it's going to get a little fun. But I think overall, we're going to get everyone back in the secondary. SMB, whatever you think about him, he's worst case going to be CB3 on this team. I think most teams would take that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just feel like the defense is going to take another step. I thought they took a step last year despite all the injuries, and I think they're going to take another step forward this year, because I feel like the pressure is going to be more consistent, because you're going to have horses up front. Now, again, this is all dedicated on health. Health is going to be the biggest factor, but overall, this defense, I feel, is just continuing to progress. You start from 2019 to now and how far this defense has come. The turnovers, the takeaways are going to continue, and they've already talked about catching the football more, getting 30 takeaways. They had 29 last year. I couldn't believe that. Which is
crazy, because I couldn't believe so bad.
Yeah. If you followed Twitter, you would have never known.
And Levante David had a down year because of his injury. Right. He's usually the one who ignites some of those fumbles.
They had 25 takeaways the Super Bowl year, and I couldn't believe that. I was like, what? And then you look at it last year, they had 29 with all those injuries. It's crazy. So I feel like they can take another step forward. The corners are more experienced. Antoine Winfield's going to be better. They're going to use him in the slot, which I love because he'll be being able to make plays around the football.
Baby
And
Badgers, what I call them.
Yep. And then Logan Ryan and Keanu Neal, I think, is going to be just a huge boost. And Logan Ryan's probably one of my favorite players now. And Ken, you talked about this with him and the Dogs. That's just awesome. Like, I can't express that enough.
But the best story I can say about Logan Ryan is when he was in Tennessee, like Mike Vrabel apparently had to kick him out of the film room. Or he would tell I'm not
Loves
saying
football.
sometimes there's those people that are smart asses and think they're better than their coaches, but apparently he was on par with his coaches and had really good ideas and strategies, which that Tennessee team did pretty well when he played there. And when he was at New York, he played pretty damn well for a really bad Giants team, especially their defense.
Well, their defense was probably the best part of their team. And that says a lot.
From a talent standpoint, they weren't that good, is my point.
Right.
But they did things well.
Well.
Scheme. Yeah, they did well on the scheme. And that's where I think his addition is going to help these guys so much. Like, just being in the right spots at all times. And you're not going to see the 3rd and 20 conversions, the busted coverages that we've been seeing. And that stuff has to stop. And I think it will now because of these guys.
Julio Jones notwithstanding, I think he's going to be the free agent acquisition of the year.
Him and no one talks about Russell Gage, man. Russell
Gage is great. But what I'm saying is, Russell Gage is great, but I think Logan Ryan is going to have a more impact down for down on our defense than Gage will have on our offense. That's all I really mean. Right. And also, if you want to throw dollars and cents, I mean, Ryan's getting paid like $2 million and Gage is getting 10. So that's kind of where I was coming from with that.
Yeah, I agree. I guess for me, the guy that I'm really looking at as far as free agent acquisitions is Shaq. I want to see what Shaq makes.
Well, that was a trade.
Or trade, excuse me, trade. Sorry. I want to see what he's doing.
Again, I love it.
Yeah.
He's gonna be big time, especially in our screen game. Like, he's gonna be huge because of his athletic ability to get downfield and get open, blocks. That's gonna be so great to see.
Gene, he's maybe not better than Allie, but I think he's at that level. So I don't think you're gonna get any kind of he's a huge impact or better than
top 10 guard. Yeah, top 10 guard in the league for sure. So just don't have to worry about him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guys, I can't believe we've been doing this for an hour already. It's crazy just how fast the time goes. First off, I want to thank Joshua Cole Allen for calling in and just kind of giving us an update on what he's seeing at camp. Hopefully we can get him back on here next week. Michael Pless, thank you so much. Guys, if you're not following Michael Pless, you really need to, at Real Bucs Talk on Twitter. Great follow, super knowledgeable, especially he'll come in handy during draft season. So make sure you're following him. If you're not following him now, sure, at least draft season. But I would say follow him now because these film breakdowns that he's doing, nobody else is doing it like him. And I think he's found his niche, and him and his partner, Mark, are two very amazing people. And I appreciate, I'm one of their biggest fans. So I appreciate what they do.
I appreciate it, Gene. Yeah, if you haven't checked out our channel, go check it out. We had Brad Johnson on the live stream. It was a lot of fun. He was just a wealth of knowledge. So his memory is just outstanding. Like, being able to call back everything in detail is really cool. But yeah, I mean, we got a lot more, film breakdowns coming up. Again, the season is going to be just jam-packed. And I think we have found our niche as far as more shorter videos, more just up to date with news and stuff like that. So yeah, we're very excited about it. And this team is really damn good. And it's awesome to say that. It's awesome to say that they're heading in places that 5-6 years ago I didn't think was possible. And now
either one of us,
sky's the limit for them. They definitely have figured out how to run a football team and how to do it the right way. And everything they're doing, it's gold right now. So yeah, I'm excited for the season. But yeah, go check out Real Bucs Talk. Hit that subscribe button. You're going to be in store for a lot of fun times. And also, I wanted to mention the pick ahead of or behind Cody Ford, because the Bills traded up to drafted him. It was Sean Murphy Bunting. He was the selection after. It was the 2019 draft.
All right.
So, but yeah, thank you, Gene, for always having me on. I appreciate
man,
it. Appreciate being on with you guys. Ken, is always a pleasure talking football with you, man. You guys are two very good friends, I consider, and yeah, it's always just talk football or life in general.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm hoping you can come down for the Super Bowl.
Oh man, that would be something. That would be something. I hope so too. I love Arizona. Arizona, definitely a place recommended. Go check it out. It is.
I think I'm gonna go have some. The tacos are amazing.
A lot of fun tacos and drive-throughs. Like that's just mind blowing to me. So it's awesome.
KB, my man, I know you've been dealing with some really down times, as far as life goes, and thank you for taking time to be on here, man. And you're like family. You are family. I shouldn't say like. You are family. Again, make sure you're following Ken Barrett, not to be mistaken with Shaq Barrett. Great follow. High football IQ. I mean, he was an offensive lineman. He knows his stuff.
Appreciate that. And then one thing I will, my kind of like my final thoughts is, I know Plus just pimped out there, like, more daily news segments, but don't sleep on their film breakdowns. I mean, Plus told me from the moment Trask was drafted kind of what he would look like, and I thought he would be really good as like a game manager, 50-50 ball like specialist to like Mike and whatnot. He throws some really impressive balls, and sometimes you can only appreciate it when it's kind of slowed down and presented to you in that instead of the sideline view, the end zone view. So again, follow Plus and Mark and everything they're doing at Real Bucs Talk. I mean, with Trask especially, there's always going to be door number two. I think any organization, if it presented itself, if a certain quarterback became available, I think any team is going to look at it. But if this team is stuck, might be the wrong word, but if Trask is the post Brady guy, I don't think we're in bad hands. And a lot of that comes down to giving people a chance and really just taking advantage of what's there, which to me, film trumps all.
Yeah. How many snaps has he had as a pro in a real game situation, or even regardless preseason?
I'm throwing out last year.
Last year didn't really, because of COVID and all the other crap. So.
He's played like 6-7 quarters this preseason.
Yeah. Okay. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm not making excuses. I just was curious to where he was.
I think Trask is at the point where he's graduated to where he's proven that. I think last year they didn't really give him a chance, and he was only playing against guys who were going to be Uber drivers or working at Home Depot.
Yeah.
I think this year he proved, hey, I'm better than third stringers. I am at least on par, if not too good for backups. Let's see what he looks like when he has a good O line, but going against a really good D line. And let's see what happens when he's facing a Todd Bowles or some of these really creative, or like the Rams with even Raheem Morris, some of those creative defenses. How does he change them? Because right now he's shown he can throw with anticipation. He's shown he can throw in tight windows, and he's shown that he can throw a deep ball.
Yep.
That's all you can really check off and make the right decisions, because I think he learned from even the first preseason game where he almost got sacked and, guys grabbing his leg and he tries to do that dump off to White, gets picked. Last Saturday, you saw him just eat it.
Yeah, exactly. He's not making the same mistake twice. So again, he's the third stringer. We know who the backup is here in Tampa. I like his progress. I like his progress. I like what he's doing. I like what I'm seeing.
Trask is going to be QB3, but people need to not read into that. QB2 is a game-to-game standpoint where Blaine Gabbert's literally going to be running the scout team. You don't want Trask to be running the scout team. I think that hinders your future quarterback's development. You need him understanding the scheme and really, I hate the, watching Tom thing, but like literally he should be behind Tom taking every single note, moving forward. And I don't think him being on the scout team is going to make him better. Let Gabbert worry about, scheming for, the next game. What Gabbert is if Brady gets injured, Gabbert's going to finish that game. But if Brady gets hurt and doesn't play, I think Trask has the better opportunity to start.
Yeah, just to kind of see how that goes. And to be honest, the Glazers do not want to go back to where they were even 4 years.
Didn't you hear they're going to sell Man Eugene?
That'd be
no, fun. I'm teasing, but apparently what's his face joked about buying them.
Oh yeah,
Tesla
Oh,
guy.
Muskie, yeah.
Musk,
yeah.
Well, this is my thing. Before I didn't have really any skin in the game, but as obnoxious as some of these people are now, I hope the Glazers keep him for at least 30 years. It's my
Just give Tom a piece so he stays here longer or whatever.
exactly. But
I love the spam. What is it? Glazers out or whatever. That's
Glazers
all
out, yeah.
yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's
Well,
funny.
and so I'll always throw in a Real Madrid or Chelsea or some other whatever soccer team comes into my
Just
mind.
don't watch them. It's not like you don't have any other teams
Yeah,
in literally Manchester that play soccer.
Exactly. All right, guys, I'm gonna get out here and fix me something to eat and call it a day. But again, we'll be doing this again next week. Plus, you're more than welcome as usual. Open invitation. You know how it goes. And guys, thank you so much in the chat. I really appreciate you. And we'll be doing this again. And phone lines next week. The phone lines will be open. Want to get your thoughts going into the season. I don't just do this for my health. Be sure to call in, give your thoughts. You're more than welcome to. And everybody have a great week. Go Bucs. Beat the Colts. And we're out of here.
Go Bucks.